Hello.
Hi, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Big fans. Got to start off
Thank
saying
you.
that. Yeah, great. So I want to just do a run through of like your history. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So you guys started as Casey and the Sunshine Junkaroo Band, right?
Junkanoo.
Oh, Junkanoo. I'm sorry, I typed it wrong. So that was more of a studio band, right? So I was wondering, how did you transition into the new band?
Well, the new band was a studio band also.
Okay.
It was all studio musicians on the records. I mean, there was no band.
Oh, okay.
So once the record started, becoming popular, then I asked the studio musicians to go out as the band.
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much.
So did your musical style change from the original band?
From which one to which
From
one?
the Junkaroo band to
Well, I
Casey
mean,
and the Sunshine Band.
the whole idea originally was to use this Junkanoo band, which is Bahamian. It exists of horns, cowbells, whistles, drums, and it's very. When you're around it, it's very. I can't think of the name right now. The word. Hypnotic.
Right.
When you're like in the presence of this music. And so I just wanted to put that on record. So I started out using that group or whatever, and for the first record, and then on the second recording, just decided not to continue using that and changed it to just to horns and the rhythms and stuff that I was going to be using. So after the second record, that was pretty much forgotten about, but there was definitely a difference in the first album and the second album, yes.
Right. Okay. So your first mainstream hit was "Rock You Baby," correct?
As a songwriter and a producer, not really. I mean, well, yes, was my first, international worldwide hit.
That was written for George McRae, correct?
That was.
Yes.
But I had Queen of Clubs that broke out right after that in England and in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But of course, your second album was full of crazy platinum hits.
Yes, it was.
I mean, you got Get Down Tonight. That's the Way I Like It.
Boogie Shoes, yes.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to say, growing up in the 70s, like when your band came out, for me, it was like, wow. Like the sound, like you said, very instrumental. It was a lot different than what was out, you
Correct.
know, and that's what caught my eye to your band.
Yes.
Just want to say you brought a lot of happy memories to
Well,
my
that's
childhood
good,
with your music.
That was the whole idea of it.
Yes, exactly.
Did you make any changes in your style when you did the second album? Was it a little bit more mainstream intentionally, or
no? There was never really any deliberate changes made. It's just as I grew, I think, as I grew musically, and it might have gotten cleaner. I don't know. I mean,
well, you always kept up with the times. Like you always kept up with the times. Like
I wasn't trying to keep up with the times. I was trying to be. I was kind of ahead of the times, I think.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you always had a place.
I wasn't trying to keep up with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was just making music,
right.
And I just happened to hit it. You know what I mean? I just
exactly.
whatever those things did, everything just came together. It was my time. It was my destiny.
Yeah, I mean, when you first came out with that second album, it shaped. I know you don't want to say it was disco. It was, but it shaped that.
Well, I mean, the first albums were starting to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, it was, especially in Europe. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the music, when I started to create it and started thinking of what I wanted it to really be, is I wanted it to be all up tempo. I wanted it to be danceable. I wanted it to be, when you took the album to a party, you could put it on side A, flip it over to side B, and it would all be up tempo.
Right.
That was deliberately done.
Right.
And that's what I strive to do. Even, I didn't put ballads. I might put like a mid-tempo thing on there, but I wanted to keep it all up. It's at a higher tempo, side A and side B. That was the plan.
Yeah, like Denise said, you've been ahead of what becomes popular for a lot of years, years. Do you think being involved with the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was another thing that helped you get even bigger?
I was already way bigger before
Right.
Saturday Night Fever.
Right. Okay.
Like that was just an added plus to be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they wanted to put "Shake Your Booty" on the Saturday Night Fever album, and they ended up putting. I told them, I suggested that they put Boogie Shoes because we were getting ready to release "Shake Your Booty," and I just thought it would be a better, option than "Shake Your Booty," and they went with Boogie Shoes. No one knew the movie was going to be as big as it was, or the soundtrack, or any of that. That just all happened.
Did you write any original music that was used in Saturday Night Fever?
For the movie?
Yes.
No, I had the one cut on there, and it was already something that was already recorded. And like I said, they wanted to put "Shake Your Booty" in the movie, and I told them, no, maybe, but you could use Boogie Shoes, and they went with it.
Okay. So you had a lot of hits from that album, and the third album, which is "Shake Your Booty" was from.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, then you had a further album that had "Please Don't Go," which was your fifth album in the end of the '70s.
Yes.
And a lot of people have covered that song. Do you take them covering the song as like a compliment?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I just put out a whole album of 60 songs where I covered, songs from the 60s. So it's always great. I mean, Rob Zombie has, covered "I'm Your Boogeyman." And,
Right.
what's the group did? The "Round and Round, You Turn Me On, Round." What was the name of that group?
You turn me.
You spin me
It was
round.
in-
and
yeah,
round.
it was in one of
Oh no.
I'm trying to think. It was in one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, well, they did "That's the Way I Like It." I mean,
Right.
my songs have been re-recorded by many, many different people and sampled by the who's who of rap.
Right. Do you like any of the versions they did better than your original?
You know what? You have to look at them all separately. You can't compare them. You can't.
Especially
Dead or Alive did
original?
the "That's the Way I Like It."
Yes.
You can't compare their version to what your version is because it's their take on it. It's their rendition of it.
I don't think any of them did.
It's an honor. It's flattering to be asked to have your record re-recorded, and it's great when it comes out.
Yeah, I think they all did it in a different style to what you did, right? So
absolutely. I mean, like the cover. There was two covers of "Please Don't Go" that came out at the same time. They were both up tempo.
Right.
And like in Europe, I had the number 1 and the number 2 songs on the chart by two different artists, but the same song.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. It was really confusing.
It was pretty amazing. Yes.
I think KWS was the one that was more successful. I can't remember the other.
It was, and I don't know why. I mean, they actually copied note for note what W did.
Right.
So it was really interesting.
I think the record company behind KWS had a bit more pull in getting it played on the radio.
Very possible.
Yeah, because I remember hearing it very close together.
Yeah, the W version was on ZYX, and the KWS, I can't remember, it was probably a major label. I don't know.
Right. So around that time, you were nominated for like 9 Grammys, of which you won 3. That's got to be the most incredible ultimate moment in a musician's life to get that. And it solidifies how successful you had become. What were your feelings about that?
I mean, it was very exciting. I mean, those are the things, of course it's about the music and the best part of it is being able to tour live and, be with the people. But, all the awards and accolades and stuff like that, those are all great. I mean, those are pinch me moments, because that just doesn't happen all the time.
Right, especially Grammys, right? So in 1980, you changed your style a little bit, and you did a couple of solo songs, one of which was with Terry DeSario.
Yes.
Now, I noticed you changed, like I said, you changed your style a little bit. You say you don't really want to follow the times. You kind of want to set how it's done in the future. Was you still following that?
Pretty much. I mean, I've been working on some new music, and I'm just doing what I feel. I think my new music is probably even more danceable than the other stuff. It's more dance-oriented. So maybe I'm following a little bit right now. But,
right.
I just really go in and make music the way I feel it. And if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
But it's always dance tracks. It's always get out of your seat and jump around music.
Yeah, I mean, but I have some other stuff that I'm working on that's a little bit more, low key, a little bit more mellower and stuff, because
right.
I'm kind of that in that kind of mode right now. So
I can't wait for that.
but
That's like my kind of speed.
Right? I mean, it's just I'm just doing KC. I'm just doing whatever the gift, whatever comes out of my hands and fingers.
As long as you're not going to be like Sting, because he's playing the lute now, and people go to his concerts looking for the Police music, and he breaks out a flute and a little guitar, and everybody's
No, I will always play the hits no matter what. It'll just have to be a 3 or 4 hour show. That's all.
Right.
There you go.
Well, you know what? I think people would be happy with that.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think people would be happy about that. So then you released in '82, "Give It Up," which was mainly you. A lot of the band was on the way, off on its own, doing its own thing at that point. That was the first song that I knew was Casey and the Sunshine Band. When I was born in '71, so I didn't really experience, your crazy time.
Right.
But I remember I bought a pair of kids' shoes in England, and they gave you a coupon for a free single, and "Give It Up" was the one I got.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I had to wait for it to come in the mail. It took 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I played it. I'm like, this is so awesome. And then I started to hear the other songs. You started to hear them in movies. And that's where I picked them up from.
Right.
And I'm like, how did I miss this? There's some great songs. But that's my memory of "Give It Up." It was one of the first singles I ever got.
Wow, awesome.
And I didn't pay for it. It was a coupon. It was a coupon. They just gave you a list to pick from, and that was one on it. And for some reason, I saw Casey and the Sunshine Band. I'm like, hey, I got to check this one out.
Oh, that's great.
See, with you, okay, I'm 10 years older than him, so my memory was always waiting for the next single to come out.
There you go.
And running down to Sam Goody's to pick up my 45.
Wow.
I mean, those were my highlights. And
that's awesome.
What do you think of CDs? Are you one of the people that think the records are just more real? The sound is better, and CDs aren't so good. What's your feeling on that?
I don't know. That's a hard one, because CDs do allow, on an album, you were actually limited to how much sound you could put on the album.
Right.
You had to be careful of how much bass or how much whatever you put on the album, because if the grooves kissed, whenever a record skipped, that's because the grooves were kissing.
Right.
And they kissed so much that the needle would just pop over into the next groove. That's what would cause a record to skip. And people thought it was, scratching or whatever. That had nothing to do with it.
So if you got a new record that did that, it was mastered wrong, is basically what we're saying.
Correct, because somebody might have over-mastered it.
And that's funny, because I remember a kid when it would always skip, right? We would think there was a scratch on it,
Right.
or maybe it was
our
Victrola.
The grooves were kissing into. If you look, we used to, like, when we would master them, we would look through the magnifying glass to see how close some of the grooves were or whatever, because if they got too close, they could cause a skip, So you had to be careful of how much sound you put on the 45 or the album or whatever. A 45, you could put more sound on it than you could on an album, because the album was, you had to put so many songs on the album, so you were limited to the amount of sound.
Right.
And then when they came out with the disco things, you could even put more sound on those, because you had the whole side of a vinyl album cut to put one song on, so you could, like, really spread it out and put a lot more sound on it. But so I think digital allows you to put, like, a lot of sound on it. You don't have to worry so much about it. The worst thing you have to worry about is it distorting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to skip. It's not going to cause any problems no matter how much sound you put on it. So CDs, in a way, are great. It's just sad that CDs have vanished and we're into this digital thing, which now I guess you could put any kind of amount of sound on the record or whatever.
Did you have to remix any songs that were on 45s because they were wider and the album it couldn't handle the?
Well, it had nothing so much to do with the mixing. What happens with records, and people don't understand, it even happens once it gets to the radio station. But after you mix a song, you now take it into what they call mastering.
Right.
Mastering adds more highs or lows or mid ranges or whatever to the song. So you can add even more bass and highs. It's like when you get the record home and then you turn your treble up or bass up on your stereo more.
Right.
So mastering allows you to do that to the record before it even gets pressed. So you could control that in the mastering, like, because you would set it in the lab and then watch it, do a test, and then look at it through the microscope and then see if you could add more. You had to take some off or whatever.
Oh wow, it's very, very a technical thing back then. Now,
right. And then when it got to radio then also sent it to a compressor or whatever, and even did more, added reverb to them sometimes, and did all kinds of stuff. So a lot of different things happen in the process. So it's not so much the mixing. I mean, it's possible you could have mixed too much bass into the song, and then you might have to go back in and remix it, which would have been a real pain in the butt. But
yeah. So in the 1990s, you did release some more stuff. It was critically acclaimed, but didn't do so great in the charts. Around then, there was kind of a return of popularity of disco. I was wondering.
Well, the thing is, I released those on my own label. I didn't put any kind of marketing into them. I did not push them. They were basically stuff that had been sitting around, and I thought, you know what? I want to put this stuff out while I'm alive.
Right.
And, just so it was there. And it was just sitting in a can. I thought, I'll just put it out. So that's what I did.
You know what? Yeah. Every big fan is going to want to hear that stuff. It doesn't matter.
Oh, that stuff's great. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I was going to talk later about. I'll get to it, but a lot of young kids are now getting into your music who weren't even alive when you did it. So they're going to be.
I know a company just re-released the 2 epic albums, All in the Night's Work and The Painter, and there's some great stuff on those records too.
How do you feel that you influenced and shaped music? I know you mentioned before that you were at the beginning of the disco
Turn the
era.
radio on.
Yeah. Is there any particular bands that you listen to and go, you know what? That if it wasn't for me, that music wouldn't be out.
Well, I'm sure we influenced the Bee Gees, and the whole Saturday Night. We influenced everybody. I mean, I've even had Van Halen tell me that, that they used to have to play our records to, hook up with a girl or something and stuff. So, I'm sure we influenced. I mean, you can hear our guitar licks, you can hear the drums, you can hear the whole thing. I mean, listen to the new Bruno Mars song. With
Uptown
Mike
Funk or the new one? Oh yeah, Uptown Funk.
Ronson, whatever his first name is.
Yeah.
Rob Ronson.
No, I think it's Mark Ronson.
Mark Ronson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear it. I mean, I can sing "Get Down Tonight" to the Bruno Mars record. I mean, so.
And he actually, you can see another thing that he got from you is he has 25 people on stage playing all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, even Justin Timberlake in his whatever he calls his band now, it was kind of resembled what we did.
Right.
So. I mean, we all influence. I mean, James Brown influenced me. I mean, the Motown. We're all influenced by someone. So, I mean, I don't think that's a big feat. But we definitely did influence music, and it's still being influenced even to this day. I mean,
you've got to be proud.
Music is hotter now than it was. In the 70s, it's just amazing. And
you've got to be proud, though. You've got to be proud. You might not, want to take credit for it, but when you listen to a song, you've got to say, you know what, there's some me in there.
I am. I'm very proud of what I did. And,
were you the first band that had that many people on stage?
I don't know about that. James Brown used to carry quite a few people.
Right.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears carried quite a few people on stage. I don't know how many Chicago carried. Sly and the Family Stone, I think, used to have quite a big group. So I don't know. I mean, in our heyday we carried 13. Now we carry 15. So, and we could have used more. But
I mean, your horn section to me is comparable to like a big band that's got 50 people in it. You guys know how to make 6 people sound like 50.
Well, I mean, we did that. We doubled and tripled them. You know what I mean? Right. So you did have, on the records, you did have like 12. It sounded like 12 people playing. You know.
But even live, it sounds pretty damn good.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
I have some great musicians playing with me now.
Right. So your new album, the Feeling You the 60s, that's all covers.
Well, I have
right?
even a newer one that just came out last week called
Christmas one,
Sunshine
right?
Christmas. It's our first Christmas album.
Well, the thing I was going to ask you about the 60s one, because obviously you started in the early 70s, so there's got to be a lot of influence in the 60s on your, in your music.
Like
well, there weren't. I mean, and like, some of the songs I selected, I just felt like it's kind of a musical diary of my life.
Right.
And that record, and I just went back and picked songs that I felt kind of
maybe influenced you, right?
Not so much influenced me, but
inspired you.
Inspired me in a way, but kind of told my story, or kind of the way I've felt emotionally or whatever over the past 60 some odd years.
Right.
Okay.
You know, like the song "Always Something There to Remind Me." I mean, you know, I just, you know, as you get older, you know, so many people pass out of your life, and you know, and you lose people, and there's, so I just felt that song just really, you know, touched on how I feel a lot about when I'm walking around or when I'm doing things or going places or whatever. All the memories, or I look at something and it reminds me of someone, and you know, so I just felt that was really, you know, a song that really I could connect with. And both sides now, you know, I mean, I've lived both sides now. I really felt that. I really felt that song. So I kind of picked up on, you know, some of the songs on the album were because of those reasons, and a couple were just because they were fun to do. It would be fun to do live, like Rockin' Pneumonia, the Boogie Woogie Flu, and you know, or sweet soul music. I mean, so you know, more than songs that inspired me, they were more in songs that
touched you.
Yeah, touched me, or
something that you could relate to.
I was kind of thinking it was a silly question, really, because you're the one who brought out, you know, a lot of dance systems, especially, you know, like I said, you don't really like to be called disco, but you were at the beginning of that, so it wasn't like you took the '60s sound and just did it again. You started from scratch, really. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, you had both. You had hits on like pop charts as well as soul.
We had hits on everything: adult, contemporary, pop, R&B. I mean, you know, nobody was really doing that when we were doing that.
I mean, if you'd have started in the '60s, let's pretend you were 10 years younger. Do you think you would have done the '60s style of music, or do you think you would have just gone and tried to do something unique straight away?
You know, I don't know. I mean, that was a very, you know, it was a very interesting time of life for me. I mean, it was kind of an unsettling. Being a young man at that time was like, it was hard to, like, you didn't know if you were going to get drafted, so it was hard to like make plans and say, well, I want to go do this and I want to go do that, because you might make those plans and then all of a sudden they call you in for service. So I think it was a very unsettling time for boys at that time. That it was hard to. I know it felt, you know, it was hard for me to like really lock into any one thing, because not knowing what you know, where I was going to be.
Right, where your future was going to hold.
Correct.
What did what were your feelings on the British invasion? Were you a fan of any of that stuff?
You know, not initially, and I don't know. You know, the girls in my neighborhood were crazy about the Beatles. I really wasn't. Of course, I was into R&B and pop. I mean, there were some of the Beatles records that I liked, like Love, Love Me Do, or you know, some of the ones that were kind of a little bit more funky, or had like, you know, I've always liked all kinds of music. So if it was even like Grand Funk Railroad, some of that stuff was really kind of funky. So if it was funky enough, no matter what kind it was, then I loved it. And when it went too far the other way, then I just didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no, you know, horns on a Beatles album at all.
No, well, it didn't matter if there was horns or not, because you know there were a lot of records that didn't have horns on. There were great, you know, great songs. But it just if it had a groove, if it was something that moved my soul, then I gravitated right towards it.
So what's the follow up to the Feeling You? There's another part, right?
Yes, there's Feeling You Part 2, which is all original material.
Okay.
And
cool.
we released our first dance record from it or whatever this year, and it went on the Billboard Dance Chart, which was my first chart record in 30 years.
That was I Love You More, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're coming out with the next one, which is called I'm Feeling You, which is from where the album title came from. So that comes out in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we'll see where it goes. So that I'm still writing. I'm writing, even working on the next record even after this one that hasn't come out yet.
I'm glad you haven't given up. There's a lot of people that, you know.
No, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up until I hit it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know there's one more in me, and I know it actually might already be recorded. There's some great stuff on this record, and but the newer stuff I'm writing is just even right on point. So we'll just see. We'll just see where it all goes. But I'm not stopping right now. I'm re-energized. It's kind of weird that on the eve of my 40th year in this business or whatever, in 2013, I just got that creative vibe that I had when I was 20-something years old, and it's just unstoppable right now.
Yeah, why would you stop? Even if you start writing songs for other artists, you said you're going to do some.
I know. So we don't know. I don't know where it's all going to go. I'm just out there, just
doing
taking it day by day. I'm not fighting it for a long time. I kind of fought, making music again and doing all these things, and then I just decided one day I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to enjoy it and enjoy the moment and let it be that. So
I see that.
That's what I'm doing right now.
I see that song broke the top 30 the same day, 31 years later, that Get Down Tonight broke.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's the 31st of I want to say. Okay, I want to say August. I didn't know the date. So you sold 100 million records. That's some crazy feat that only a handful of artists have done that. You can't be upset with that. You say digital is a whole new beast, but now you can release a song on iTunes and the whole world can see it instantaneously. It's not like you have to call 25 record companies and
right?
And you can sell it yourself. You don't even need a record company, but of course they're good if you need someone to market your stuff.
Yes.
It's hard to get on the radio unless a song goes crazy if you don't have a record company. The record company could just call someone they know down there and off you go. But you're playing over 100 dates a year, is that right?
About that. We're close to that, yes.
Wow, that's crazy. It's amazing. Did you play any of the 80s Rewind concerts in England yet?
We did some with Denny. Denny. We did a couple of them, and I know we're going to be in Amsterdam this coming weekend. We have 2 shows in Amsterdam. And then I know there's plans to do a UK tour.
Yeah, you had a good following in the UK. I remember once I got to know your music,
and
I talked to people about it. They're like, why are you taking so long to come across this,
I know, right?
Yeah, and like I said, you must look out in the crowd and see some 20-somethings out there that you never heard of you at the time. They weren't even born. So it must be pretty wild. Must bring you back to the old days when you were seeing 20-somethings in the 70s.
It does. I mean, when I first went to the UK, we did 48 shows. What did we do? We did 48 cities in 24 days.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So we would do one show in one little city in the UK, and then pack up and go to the next city about an hour and a half or 2 hours away and do another show that night.
Yeah, you can't do that in America.
No, it was insane.
Yeah. You could do the whole of England in 6 hours,
Yeah. Well, it took 24 days.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy though, man. It shows your popularity though. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing because we had not made it that big here yet.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Like a lot of groups, there's a couple of 80s groups we've talked to, and they're still big now, but in America and the UK, no one's heard from them for 20 years. Meanwhile, they're number 2 in Germany with some song you've never heard of.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was doing some prep for an interview we have on Wednesday, and I'm looking and I'm like, wow, this group has 11 albums. I only knew 3 songs they ever did,
Wow.
So they keep going. I think, some people just keep going. They just don't hit again, I guess,
Right.
So is the Christmas album just a bunch of Christmas songs, or have you got some stuff you've written in there?
No, there's 4 original songs on there.
Ooh.
Okay.
Let's Go Dancing with Santa, the After Christmas song, the Jingle Bell Boogie, and a Sunshine Christmas, and then the rest are classics.
And that came out like 10 days ago, so
on the 16th, yes.
People can get that now, and they can get the 60s album now.
Yeah.
As well. But I have a question about your covers. What's the deal with the parrots? Is it you're trying to be a tropical thing? Or?
You know what? I always had parrots. I had parrots back in the 70s. I have one now that I inherited. I sent this. The girl that did that cover, she also did the Feeling You cover, but she's been a fan of mine since she was 16 years old. She just had a baby like 2 days ago.
Wow.
But she's been a fan of mine since she was 16 years old, and she's one of the most amazing artists ever. And I wrote her an email. I said, Bonnie, I'd like you to do the Christmas album also. And she sent that to me like that, with the birds holding the
and the palm trees.
It's like a ribbon that makes it kind of Christmassy, right?
Yeah, and she sent it to me that way, and I thought, this is crazy, because I did have connection to the birds at one time, macaws or whatever.
Right.
It was just so interesting that she pulled all of that out of it. I mean, I guess maybe she knew that from, if you were really a real fan, you would know that I had birds and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I just asked her to come up with an idea, and that was her idea, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool, the birds holding the ribbon and on the logo and stuff, and yeah, she did an amazing job, I thought, of it.
Definitely.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Now you've always had the same logo, right?
I have.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It just like stands out there and just says, this is going to be big. Whatever you listen to now, it's going to be loud and it's going to be in your face. It just kind of looks. It's like it just says that. It just stands out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't have to be in 3D or any of that craziness. It just stands out.
I know it does. Right? It's nuts.
Yeah. So you're on tour now, and you can go to heykcsb.com, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And you have a Facebook page, and do you have a Twitter?
Yes. We do have Twitter. I believe that's KC Sunshine B.
Okay, that's That's awesome, and I can't wait to hear this next album full of your original stuff.
It's very exciting, and I'm very excited about it. It's lyrically, I've really taken it to another step, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Are you releasing any singles from that, or you haven't decided yet?
Well, I Love You More was the first one.
Right, I'm sorry, yeah.
And then Feeling You's coming out in 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I got mixed that up with the other album.
Right?
Yeah, there's so much. You have such a catalog now.
I know. Now I'm like, I haven't put out anything in a while. Now I have 3 albums coming out. Go figure, within a year.
Well, if somebody picks you up that hasn't heard of you, they can go buy 2 more albums.
Right, there you go.
Why not, right? It's all good. It's not, one thing I learned about your albums is you can listen to the whole album. I've bought albums where I wish I'd bought the single.
Right, there you go. Well, thank you.
Yeah, so it was great having you on. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about?
No, I'm good, man. I really appreciate you, and
we
you guys have a great day.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling in, Casey. All
right,
we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you in 10 years.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.